I've been on the fence about doing an EOS-R review for a few months now, but since you've asked on Instagram, I'm gonna give it my best shot. You know, I don't really do reviews. I'm not a tech guy. I love using the equipment for what it is, but I'm not big into all the features. If you want a full-on tech review about all the features, this is probably not the review for you. There's tons of them out there online, really good ones. I want to cover something that isn't covered often, and it is how does this camera, the EOS-R, makes me feel and what images it makes. Your gear is only as good as your vision is. If you have a good idea, really good idea, and a janky camera, I think it's still gonna work. But having a fancy camera doesn't make your ideas good. So if you have a different idea, doesn't matter what gear you have a different perspective to see something or to document something, don't let the gear bog you down. And that's my philosophy. So how does the EOS-R make me feel? Well, first off, it makes me feel like I'm in business. It's sturdy, it's Canon-like. And by the way, this is not a commissioned review by Canon or by any means, not sponsored. It's just me giving my 2 cents to this camera. So it feels sturdy, Canon-like, heavy. It doesn't feel like flimsy or like this is, I think it's magnesium. It is weather sealed from my experience. It's been in the snow and wet things and it's been working well. Among the things I like, I'm really happy for Canon because they finally done it. They've made a mirrorless camera that's as good as a DSLR. So why would I use the 5D4 over the EOS-R or vice versa? Well, for me, they're really similar for my needs. But if you look at the specs, obviously you can fit way more lenses natively onto the 5D Mark IV than the R. But then if you get the adapter, you're good. So for me, it's a wash. Okay, second big one I think is the battery life. The 5D4 is rated to like 900 shots, something like that. I've always gotten way more than that, but it's rated to 900 shots. And this one is rated to 400. And I've also gotten more than that, close to 600. So there's a difference because of that two screens always on. Another one is the memory card slots. I agree that the SD doesn't always cut it. I've broken pins from the back of SDs. This one is not broken good. I've broken pins with SDs in the back. So I love a compact flash. It's more reliable. So that's why I would roll with the 1DX Mark II if I'm shooting something more burly. But otherwise, for more normal activities, the R is fine, and I'm happy with one memory card slot. I've never used 2. But if you do like wedding photography and then you have one for JPEGs, one for RAWs, then yeah, it's going to be an issue.
Another thing I've noticed with the EOS-R that I appreciate is the fact that I can use it with fairly thick gloves, and even though the buttons are small, I can still use every feature of the camera. So that's it's a win. Especially the ISO setting I told you yesterday. Easy. Good job, Canon. So to switch between modes when you're out there and you don't have much time, a bit more moves with the EOS-R. You gotta press mode and then you just switch here. So it's a big knob, easy to do with gloves. I feel like that's pretty good. So I just found this little vignette, almost like a fortress, the gate to the forest. And I think that we'll have to do a setup of grand scaling up through the portal in maybe half an hour for Blue Hour. So we'll put them both at 1600. This should be enough. Aperture 2.8, max aperture, and then 1/60 of a second should be enough. I don't mind underexposing a bit of blue hour anyways. This thing is almost too wide. I rarely use the 14, but I thought it'd be good for tonight to make the trees more almost like they're falling on him, like they're embracing him, but it's almost too wide. You can see these three there. I don't want to see this one. Let's try portrait. Woo! Looking good. The hour begins. Got the 14 on the R now, the fast switch.
We're back to the studio after a day of just shooting up there. It was pretty cold, but I've been looking at the files between the 5D and the EOS-R, and there's a few minor differences I want to point out, so let's just dive into it. So EOS-R, 5D, both have the same edits. We'll see that the 5D is just handling the edit a little better. Its highlights are kind of blown out. Let's just move on to skin tones here. Graham's a good looking guy. Looking good, Graham. So, I'm not seeing a big difference here in skin tones. Nothing major. I'd say the 5D is a little greener, while the R is a little pinker, more magenta. Otherwise, the red and the blues from the jacket look a little different. Aside from comparing, I am liking the blue better in the R, you know? If you look past and how, you know, the math and how things look here, if we just work a little bit on it, I think I'm liking the EOS-R edit better. All right, moving on to the skin scene. We have, this is from the EOS-R. So you see it got a little darker. We're shooting at 1600 ISO, almost the same settings. I just had to compensate a bit on the R. We again see that low light sensitivity was more in favor of the 5D. Let's look at both raw. So from the get-go, still seeing that this one is a little more magenta. Put the color picker on the sky. 42.4 on the 5D4. .3 on the R. So the R has again this little tendency to be more magenta, even after correction. So now, if we look at the edited files, let's just paste the same settings on both. We just see that it's a whole different behavior with the same edit, same white balance, same everything. They're not behaving the same. Easy to correct it, but it's worth noting that they don't take the colors the same way. So if I look at the curves here, with the same edit, I'm liking the curve of the 5D better because it stays in check. It doesn't go over up here. It doesn't go past, the blacks are not underexposed, while on the R, they are. And if we put them back, hang on, let me look at here. On the, yeah, the 5D4 has just a better dynamic range. There's nothing underexposed or overexposed. Here, so let me do this curve comparison on RAW. Yeah, it's the same thing. If I look at the curves here on just RAW, the 5D4 keeps the files a bit more on check. It's just a lot more balanced. But again, in terms of feel, so if I zoom in here on the trees, on both files, both at 1600 ISO, pretty chill. I am feeling that the 5D file is a lot cleaner, just by zooming in. And look at the difference. The R is a bit more noise, for sure. You can see it here. So I'm gonna go with the 5D for this. Low light, dynamic range, 5D wins. Colors and feel, I like the R better. That's it, that was for the little review. Like I said at the beginning, it's not my realm to make reviews, technical reviews. I'm not super technically oriented, but I wanted to address what hasn't been addressed, which is how it makes me feel. How do these two cameras make me feel? And I think I've answered it. The EOS-R, I like the feel that the EOS-R gives to my images better. It makes me feel like I can just, the fact I can put it in my pocket again. I know I've said it many times, but the fact I can have it in my pocket and just pull it out, pull it in, it kind of makes me feel like I'm part of the future in some way. I know Sony's been doing it for a while, but the fact that Canon is tackling it so well makes me excited to be doing this, like to be out here reviewing these things. Actually, I liked it. So I hope you enjoyed it. I might do some more, we might do other reviews, but for the meantime, thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe. There's more videos coming.